Oh, we got some cool stuff for you today. Welcome back to the Truck Show podcast, recorded right here in the Pod Shed in Huntington Beach, California. I just returned from Overland Expo West, and I've been on the road for all but 2 of the last 14 days. So my new role at Orba has been keeping me pretty busy, and I've got some Overland Expo interviews and some Orba stuff on the next long-form episode. But today is going to be something different. It's a killer episode because the sport truck is back. I feel like that's not enough clapping for what we're going to talk about. I mean, I appreciate the guy in the back, but I feel like that's just not enough clapping. So we've said it before many times on the show, and I'd like to take this as an opportunity to say we were right. You know what I haven't done in a while? We were right. So here's the deal. Ford's been dabbling, Ram's been teasing, and companies like Roush and Hennessy have been building them. But today, Ram just dropped the mic, or maybe the hammer. Not just bringing a new sport truck back to market, as we've been talking about on the Truck Show podcast for years, but bringing an entire lineup. I mean, an entire lineup to market. So today we're going to be talking about performance street trucks and Ram's all-new muscle truck, the 2027 Ram Rumblebee.
It's going to be a good day, Tater.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Before we get into that, let's thank our sponsors. The Truck Show podcast is proudly brought to you in partnership with AMSOIL, the maker of the best synthetics and the same ones we use in our rigs. A performance truck needs performance lubrication, and AMSOIL has what you need. AMSOIL manufactures some of the finest synthetic lubricants, greases, additives, filters, car care products, and yes, even merch. We use AMSOIL products to protect our rigs, and you can do the same by heading to truckshowpodcast.com and using our special link under the featured products section. Do you need a knife? Then point your browser to kershaw.kaiusa.com and explore their line of exceptional pocket knives. They have a huge selection of quality knives from EDCs and ones made in America to quick-reacting automatics. Score one for yourself today. And if you want to treat yourself to the latest in adventure, gear, and upgrades for your vehicle, go to OVRMag.com and use the code @TruckShowPodcast for a discount on print or a 1 year of access to our digital library for free. Please help me to keep the Truck Show podcast free by supporting our sponsors or leaving reviews on Apple or on Spotify. And don't forget, check the TruckShowPodcast.com website for the latest deals.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
All right, welcome back to the Truck Show podcast and some huge news. The return of the Ram Rumblebee. And no, that's not the car. This is the Rumblebee truck. And I remember when I was a young journalist working for Truckin' Magazine, and it was probably 2003 or so, and I was able to borrow a yellow regular cab Rumblebee 1500 from the press fleet out of Detroit, Michigan. And I left long black rubber lines all over the Detroit area. From there, I graduated to the 500 horsepower Ram SRT10. And if you remember, that was a massive, I think that was an 8.3 liter V10. At least the later ones were, with a manual, or you could get it with an automatic in the quad cabs. And you can hear my story about that truck with the head engineer, Herb Helbig, all the way back in episode 33 of the Truck Show podcast. What are we, somewhere around 520 or something now? It's crazy. Anyway, from early on in my career, sport trucks have always been part of the deal. Well, until they weren't. You guys know me as an off-road guy, but I still love a good high-performance street truck. And essentially, it's a market that really got abandoned by the OEs. So while Ford and Ram were busy in the space in the late 90s with the Lightning, the Rumblebee, the Ram SRT10, Ford walked away from the street trucks with the Raptor lineup. And in fact, Raptors never sold less than the Lightning's biggest year. So they knew off-road was going to be huge for them, and the economies of scales were stacked against the street truck. And at the time, I remember Ford executives talking about how they wanted to make a better truck, not a worse sports car, out of a truck. And obviously, Raptor's become a huge deal. And without a competitor, Ram moved away from street performance, and fortunately, the aftermarket stepped in and kept the torch lit. More recently, Ford has dabbled a bit with the extremely fun-to-drive Maverick Lobo, and I got to tell you, I love that thing. It is a riot, and I mean, it's way better than it has any right to be honest. And then more recently, they overlaid the Lobo street truck package over the F-150. But with today's announcement, Ram is going all in, head first, leaving nothing on the table. And what the consumer gets, well, it's an incredible choice of some very serious performance trucks. And I'll be honest, I'm down with lots of choice of performance, different trim levels, different power levels, different chassis setups. Choose the version you want or can afford. These trucks aren't just for the rich among us, and Ram has made sure that anybody who's an enthusiast in this space, well, there's a version waiting for you. So without further ado, let's get into the 2027 Ram Rumblebee, and we'll start with some comments from Ram CEO Tim Kuniskis in his press conference, where he was adamant about building an enthusiast product, possibly one that answers a question that no one was asking for, although I feel like we've been asking.
Are we answering a question that nobody's asking? Maybe. But this is absolutely one of those take a flyer, no data research moments to try and build a product. Build a product because as an enthusiast, me, us, we all know that we would buy this product. And so we hope we're not going to be alone on that. This is absolutely a hold my beer, watch this, push the chips in moment.
So he went on to talk about everything Ram's been up to for the last 18 months. And I know we've had a lot of Ram news, and I know Tim has really worked hard to turn the ship. But when you see the list, it's really impressive.
If I'm being honest, it isn't that far off what we've done the last 18 months. I mean, look at this list. There's some people in the crowd here that this list makes them sick because they haven't slept in 18 months. I mean, we came back hard, launched the heavy-duty truck, Nothing Stops Ram, brought back the Hemi, went back to NASCAR, brought back SRT.
And then he went on to talk about how Ram finished Q1 at 138,000 North American sales, which is up 21% year over year. And it's the best Q1 North America sales since 2023. And Ram is the fastest growing brand in North America year over year. Not just trucks, everything.
And again, we're not going to come off that. We're not going to lift. That's why you're here today. Because as crazy and schizophrenic as this industry is, like I keep saying, product is the only thing that really matters. It used to be, you guys have been doing this a long time, it used to be that features and finishes could make a difference. They were the differentiators. You know, you could have steel wheels and black bumpers, move up to alloy and color. Yeah, good luck doing that today. We have given all that stuff away. Power used to be reserved for the highest performance vehicles. Now a family crossover will walk a Mustang from a decade ago.
And of course, he gave us a reminder of where Ram currently sits with the very lucrative off-road market.
Remember when off-road capability was a Jeep thing? Now everybody's trying to be Jeep. And then in the truck segment, we got into off-road trucks. Think about that 13 years. 13 years ago, how many off-road trucks were there 13 years ago? That was the next differentiator. Look at all the off-road trucks that we offer today. I think, and I'm biased of course, we have the strongest, most complete off-road lineup in the industry. Warlock, Rebel, RHO, gas and diesel power wagons, and the Apex Predator that we just announced, the TRX. Trucks used to be just work tools. Now, they're like silly putty. It's for whatever you want. They can be workhorses, they can be luxury vehicles, they can be used for off-road, and they're so natural for off-road.
So where does the company go next? What is the next great differentiator for a brand? We know that off-road has been the hot spot for, well, probably the last 15 years. And with everybody jumping in, where does Tim see the white space now, especially for Ram?
The question is, what do you do next? What's the next thing that became a decade and a half ago? Now, as an industry, and us as well, we've played around in the on-road space with trucks. You see them here. But no one has ever really fully committed and called the market like we did with off-road. You remember the Little Red Express truck, the Viper truck, the Daytona truck. They were so cool. Why didn't they last? Were they bad ideas? Or were they just ahead of their time?
I love the approach he takes with this. He talks about where they've been as a brand, acknowledge that each of these great products were short-lived products and they haven't had the same success as off-road. But I really love the thought he puts into the next piece of audio. And this is something I honestly haven't really thought about. What he is about to say next is searching for that white space, searching for that differentiator, that turnover. And it took me a minute and I went, you know what? I wonder if the pendulum is starting to swing.
I've always thought that there was one thing missing. There was always a disconnect in my mind. Fast trucks are really cool, but I think we can do way more because you got to think about that muscle car formula. There was something that was always consistent in that formula. Low, long hood, short deck, and ideally wide. It delivered the right proportions that just visually represented, regardless of what the powertrain was, it visually represented what muscle was. It just looked like something powerful. But trucks, they sit high, they have long beds, flat sides. It makes it way harder to communicate that muscular proportion. It's so much more challenging. But if you look at the Little Red Express, we accomplished it back then. Short bed, step side. That thing had 225 horsepower, but it screamed muscle just looking at it. In my opinion, and I hope to God I'm right, this is what held back street performance trucks. That's why they were kept as high performance, super cool, no offense, super cool, but very niche models compared to a full lineup like the off-roads.
So Ram has acknowledged that there may be this pendulum swinging, that there may have been some deficiencies in OE sport trucks in the past. So as a brand, how did they decide to move forward to produce a brand new production model, but not just a production model, but an entire lineup of trucks? What happens when you merge performance and you don't walk away from the functional and fundamental side of what makes a truck? And ultimately, what makes a truck cool?
It was always a half step. These were always half steps. So we tried to test it. We tried to find out, okay, was it really a half step? Or are we just in love with this idea and so we're talking ourselves into it? So we were hiding in plain sight. SEMA, the Dude, the Fox 650, the response has been huge on that. So we're like, okay, we're not just talking to ourselves. We think the timing is right, the next turn of the cycle is right for these people to come back in. So what if, instead of half-stepping, we went all in and we merged the everyday functionality of a truck with the performance and attitude of a muscle car? We're going to take a page out of our product history. We call these muscle trucks.
All right, so welcome to Ram's world of muscle trucks.
This is the all-new Ram 1500 Rumblebee.
All right, so since you can't see it, let me describe it for you. Think of a lowered monochromatic TRX with street rubber, and you're really close. But here's the kicker. Instead of a crew cab short bed, it's a quad cab short bed. And it looks tough. Now, Tim's going to go on and explain the reasoning here, which I think totally makes sense. Some of you are going to be disappointed that there's not a regular cab, but I'll let him explain it. When you hear why, and you hear that they didn't just lower a TRX, they actually put a new chassis together that's 13 inches shorter, it suddenly makes a lot of sense and comes into play, and I think it looks great.
Now, remember what I said about the proportions. You got to get up and look at this car from a distance and really soak in the proportions of this thing. It is as important as the performance. And look, I know that there are a lot of keyboard warriors out there. You didn't give me the regular cab. I'm not buying it. You want to know the facts? Here's the facts. In the entire truck industry, 3% of the sales are regular cab trucks. 3%. They're typing, they ain't buying. Yes, a regular cab would have been lighter. It would have been 300 pounds lighter than this. But this isn't a race car. This is a full-size truck that weighs 6,000 pounds. So yes, we gave you a 5% weight penalty, but we opened up 97% of the market. I'll take that bet all day long. Give up 5% and cover 97% of the market because it allowed us to improve the proportions dramatically, I think, and make it daily driver capable And probably the most important thing in today's day and age when everything's so expensive, we insured the spousal alibi.
All right. I love Tim. Who doesn't love a CEO who has your back and uses the term spousal alibi to prove that they have thought about the end user and what the person needs, and also to give you an excuse to buy something really rad from their company? Spousal alibi. Remember that. Use it in your life. I want everybody listening to the podcast, use it in a sentence 3 times tomorrow.
It is not just a weekend toy. This can be your daily driver for everything you need. And if you're worried about the 300 pounds, don't. Direct Connection is already working on it, and not in the way that you're thinking, but come to Roadkill Nights this year, and we will have much more for you on that. Now, this is a 1,000% intentional move.
So in Ram's eye, what makes a muscle truck, and how are they as a brand protecting their planted flag in this space? And what Tim explains here is like, now you really, like, you sort of got the idea why they went quad cab and not a full crew cab. And you sort of got the idea of why they didn't go all in on the regular cab, other than the DT platform, which is the current Ram 1500, doesn't have a regular cab, and they would have had to develop it special. But what he goes on to say here is business strategy. And I guarantee you, most of you haven't even thought about this.
We could have done it way cheaper and way faster had we not gone with the quad cab and the short box. But we needed those proportions. Those proportions are what makes this a muscle truck. Shorter, wider, lower. It just looks muscular. Plus, selfishly, it's way harder for anybody to try and copy these proportions because nobody, you can't do it with a crew cab, and nobody has anything that's a non-crew cab with a short bed. So, okay, come and follow us. I got 2 years head start. Now, when the aftermarket gets a hold of this and drops it even further than we can, it's going to be absolutely sick.
And I love the fact that Ram, and keep in mind, Kaniskis had a stint at Jeep. He's now the CEO of basically, or oversees not only Ram, but Jeep also. So he gets it when it comes to aftermarket-friendly vehicles, aftermarket-friendly package protection. And I love that he is like, yeah, go ahead, do more in the aftermarket. You're good. You're good with us. So what makes a Rumblebee?
395 horsepower, 392 gears, the GT exhaust, standard four-wheel drive, and rear-wheel drive mode for when you want to have some fun. 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds, and yeah, it's got one battery.
Yeah, I love the one battery because he knows we all hate start-stop. So real quick, let's go through this in a little bit more detail. All new quad cab with the 5.7 pickup bed configuration. So at this point, you can get a quad cab, but you have to go to the 6.4 bed. You can't get the 5.7 bed. It looks just like a TRX, but like squished, right? Like it looks like you took the nose and the tail and pushed them together. And because it's shorter, even though it's the same Coke bottle wide body kit and hood, it kind of looks like everything kind of got pushed out. So it's almost more kind of muscular and cartoonish in a way, but not cartoonish in a bad way. Cartoonish as in like it looks like something you drew, like the proportions are like that. So again, quad cab, 5.7 bed configuration, big deal because they made it basically a unique chassis for this vehicle. 131.9-inch wheelbase. It's got the wide body fender flares, so again, same as TRX. On the Rumblebee, lowered steel suspension with passive damping, which are Bilsteins. Late availability, you'll be able to get a 20 by 10-inch wheel with a 305 50/20, and there'll be an optional 22 by 10 with 285 45 22 tires. Get the same performance hood, 14.9-inch brake rotors, which are larger than anything else in the 1500 world. And again, this is the Rumblebee. This is the base truck. So you get the iconic 5.7 Hemi, which is 395 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds, quarter mile, 14.6, top speed of 130, performance exhaust, single-speed on-demand transfer case. Again, no low range, but there is a rear-wheel drive mode. If you have a Wrangler with a Taser, think of it as that, essentially. Or even a 4xe that has two-wheel drive mode. So basically the clutches decouple from the front drivetrain and then your rear-wheel drive only, which makes it great for smoky burnouts and donuts and things like that. Dana 250 millimeter, just under 10 inches rear axle with either open or limited slip, 392 axle ratio, and then body-colored bumpers, handles, mirrors. It's all monochromatic. LED headlamps and tail lamps, flat-bottom steering wheel, which is super cool. Full-length aluminum paddle shifter, so above and below the spoke. It's got the GT-style console shifter, so no knob. And this one comes with an 8.4-inch Uconnect, which is kind of the square one, 12-inch digital cluster for the driver information center, manually adjusting cloth bucket seats, and gray interior stitching. But wait a minute. There's more?
For most reveals, that would have been the headline, but not for us. For Rumblebee, that is just the starting line. This is the one that nobody sees coming. And everything you're going to see today, even that isn't the finish line. So the next gear we're pulling, the same as the short bed and the quad cab, is something that we've never done before. 392 in a light duty. And not a big gas, 392 Apache.
I think the crowd's happy about that. So wait, what? A 392 Rumblebee? Hell yes. I am 100% on board with this. In fact, this might be the sweet spot, but I'll let the program and information keep flowing here. But of course, at this point, you hear the clapping and everything. It's because it's drifting through the presentation. You gotta love Tim. He's a showman at heart.
470 horsepower, 5.2 seconds 0 to 60.
So it drops almost a second off 0 to 60.
And the quarter mile in 13.2 seconds. The original gangster over there.
And by the way, the original gangster he's talking about, that would be the Ram SRT10, which one of my favorite trucks of all time. Amazingly enough, I will tell you this: they're still a little bit undervalued if you see them in the auctions and for sale. There's quite a few out there with low miles, like 10, 20,000 miles, that are reasonably priced. I looked at a couple because that's one truck I would have loved to have in my collection. I would love to add if I had a place for it or a little bit extra cash. It's the one that got away that I wish I would have done something with, or I wish I would have had the opportunity to purchase one or the paycheck too. But those trucks, you'll see them sometimes with 100, 110, 120,000 miles on them. Turns out that the Viper engine in truck duty does pretty well.
Line them up next to each other, no disrespect to that. 20 years later, 4 car lengths ahead with a 6.4. We're also going to do a track pack option of the 6.4 as well that you'll get more information on later today.
So while Ram seemingly has the market covered with the 2 trucks mentioned, we were rewarded with a, but wait, there's more moment.
Now, these 2 Rumblebees, they're amazing. They are going to represent the heart of the market. They're going to make up all the volume.
By the way, sign me up for the 392 Rumblebee because that really does just, I like it.
But we couldn't say that we were launching the full range of muscle trucks and not give you a halo to go after that original gangster. 20 years ago, that was the benchmark. That truck blew the doors off everything, and it set the world's record for the fastest production truck ever.
I should point out, I was there that day, and I covered it for Truckin' Magazine. I was the only out-of-town journalist that was flown out to attend that snowy day at Chelsea Proving Grounds. And he shows a picture here of the record, 154.587. That's infamously the truck that Herb Helbig gave me a ride in doing 140 miles an hour around Chelsea's oval just after that record had been set. So I was there. I saw it, and Ford, I believe, had set the record in the Lightning just a few weeks previous at like 147, and Ram's like, oh, hell no.
Record that it still holds today and was set right here at the Chelsea Proving Grounds. Look, most of you know that I have a problem with performance. It doesn't matter if it's a car or a truck, I want to push it harder and faster. Now, luckily, based on this crowd, I'm not alone. And we're already calling this the new king because we have already smoked the 154 mile an hour record, and we are pushing like hell to get to 170.
All right, if I know Tim, and I know him a little bit, definitely done some stuff together before, got mad respect for the man, but I'm guessing that number's probably closer to 175 or maybe even 180, but we'll see. I think he's sandbagging you a little bit. I think he's going, yeah, we're doing 170, and I think he's going to just blow that number out of the water, but we'll see.
It's not often that a brand delivers a halo truck worthy of the SRT badge. Now you have 2 of them, the TRX and this. Yeah, even
By the way, that was the truck driving through the middle of the presentation at full speed. And I love it.
I backed up for that one. Let that one soak in for a minute.
And by the way, what you're hearing is just off to the side of the presentation, and this is on the skid pan at Chelsea Proving Grounds with all of the media and like bleachers or whatever. They're basically doing donuts and burnouts and turning perfectly good tires into smoke. And I absolutely love this. And drifting it.
Yeah, that's what's next for trucks right there. Supercharged 6.2 Hellcat, 777 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds, and the quarter in 11.6. It is the fastest, most powerful, and most capable V8 production truck ever. Welcome to the era of muscle trucks.
And they're just in there revving. I wish I had a better file of it revving because I would absolutely love to turn that into sounds for you guys. But hopefully at some point I'll get that opportunity. Wow. So yeah, welcome back, Muscle Trucks. Again, these are all quad cabs with a 5.7 box. So I kind of, just to break it down, 5.7 is base, 395 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. It's got MDS but no e-torque and no auto start stop. 9.5 to 1 compression ratio, 8 HP 75, and it does all that off 89 octane. Moving up to the 392, which isn't just the 6.4, but it's the Performance Apache version, the same one that's in my Wrangler, essentially. 470 horsepower, 455 pound-feet of torque with a 10.9 to 1 compression ratio. It also has the 8 HP 75, but modified, and it requires 91 octane. Within the 392 iron block, you get an upgraded forged steel crankshaft and hyper-eutectic cast aluminum pistons with floating pins, and those deliver a 10.9 to 1 compression ratio, as I said. Then moving up into the SRT version, and you've got the Hellcat 777 horsepower, 680 pound-feet of torque, an 8 HP 95. This one has 9.5 to 1 compression with 13 PSI coming from a 145 cubic inch blower. That's a 2.4 liter twin screw blower, and it also requires 91. The orange painted block on this one includes a forged steel crankshaft and hyper-eutectic cast aluminum pistons with floating pins, and it's good for, again, 777 horsepower. Now, the Hellcat engine features the same 4.09 inch bore as the 6.4 liter and the same 3.578 stroke as the 5.7 liter Hemi, so its displacement is 6.2 liters. All of the trucks have the Borg-Warner 4811 T-case for active four-wheel drive and allows for rear-wheel drive operation at the push of a button, and no low range since it's a street vehicle, but you can do a 4-high where you can lock the front and rear together. Going back to the Ram Rumblebee 392, it employs the same 250 millimeter Dana rear axle with a 392 ring and pinion ratio, while adding the track pack, which is the half step between Rumblebee 392 and the SRT version. It gains an electronic spool differential that can electronically lock the axle to command an even torque split between both rear tires. Get that turned on by a button on the dash to the right of the steering wheel, just like a TRX. There's like a little button command center for all the fun stuff. And, of course, the electronic spool diff is intended, they're calling it a spool, it's basically a locker, is intended for drag race starts and burning rubber. And then you can also get an asymmetric limited slip differential as an option on both the 392 variants, so 392 and track pack, but it'll be a late availability. The Rumblebee SRT gets a unique front fascia for increased thermal management, and I think that might be the same for the track pack, but I'm not 100% sure. A little bit unclear on that. But it was probably the most demanding challenge for this level of performance, because basically what they did is they added 50% more cooling capacity in the Rumblebee SRT. So it's designed to be able to sustain racetrack duty cycles in 100-degree heat, which is gnarly. So leveraging the unique performance fascia, it has increased airflow. There's a new cooling system. It manages, obviously, coolant and oil temps, and the fascia Also has big, massive channels which flow more air to the front brakes to assist with cooling of the brake package as well. On the SRT, ring and pinion is a 355 to match the supercharged torque curve, and that's what's going to get it up above 170 miles per hour. And the rear axle also includes the electronic spool function. So on this truck, on the SRT, it's got the second biggest set of tires ever put on a SRT or Chrysler product, I guess. It's a 325 millimeter rear tire. So the only thing bigger was the Viper with 335s. Those are not going to be cheap to replace, especially if you get really happy with the throttle. All right, so let's break it down. Rumblebee, which is the base. 0 to 60, 6.1. Rumblebee 392, 5.2. Rumblebee SRT 3.4. And on the Rumblebee base model, 14.6 at 93. Rumblebee 392 is 13.2 at 101. Rumblebee SRT 11.6 at 116. Which, if you've ever done an 11-second quarter mile in just a street vehicle, it's really fast, especially with no cage or anything. That is cooking. So Rumblebee base trucks max out at 8,890 pounds of towing and 1,160 pounds of payload. The frame's been modified by removing 13 inches from behind the B-pillar, which reduced frame flex by 10%, and again created the first time that you could get a quad cab with a short box together. And of course, the drive shaft, wiring harness, fuel lines, brake lines, all of those things were also shortened, and they have their own unique part numbers for the Rumblebee application. The Rumblebee and Rumblebee 392 use steel spring suspension. The IFS short long arm uses longer arms when compared to a standard Ram 1500, which gives the Rumblebee a 6.8-inch wider track width for increased stability, and then an amazing stance. And then there's a redesigned knuckle that drops it an inch. And in the rear, the axle is 7 inches wider than standard, and then that also adds to improved stability and handling characteristics. It's got Bilstein monotube performance shocks to control compression and rebound. It's got unique internals when compared to a standard Ram 1500. And to further reduce body roll, the front and rear axles have stabilizer bars and maintain traction through high G spirited driving. So this combination firms up the driving dynamics, and there's even a fifth Bilstein kicker shock, similar to both the old Ram SRT10 and the TRX. Front braking on the Rumblebee and the Rumblebee 392 is handled by 14.9-inch by 1.2-inch vented discs with 2.2-inch two-piston pin slider calipers. The rear has 14.8 by 0.87 discs with 2.2-inch single-piston pin slider calipers. And then the Rumblebee and Rumblebee 392 have 5 different drive modes, so auto, sport, snow, tow, and custom. Now, when you check the box for the Rumblebee 392 track pack and Rumblebee SRT, the air suspension option becomes standard. But it's not just regular air suspension. There's also a little bit of a trick in there. So damping is firmer, but the air suspension allows more compliance during normal driving conditions while still maintaining SRT's benchmarks for control at the limit. And it's got the adjustable shocks, which I'll get into in a second. So Rumblebee 392 track pack and Rumblebee SRT gets a dedicated track driving mode and power limiting valet mode for a total of 7 driver selectable options. So auto, sport, track, snow, tow, custom, and valet. Like the coil sprung steel spring versions, the drive modes on these 2 trucks also adjust stability control, throttle mapping, braking, steering, all that kind of stuff. But then when you add the adjustable suspension, it can lower the truck 1.5 inches for improved handling in track mode. And in line with the 4 pillars of SRT, track mode also relaxes stability control, allowing for more fun driving without excessive nannies trying to pull back the fun. And with the shocks, I told you the air suspension is there, air springs, but there's a Bilstein Damptronic Sky dual valve semi-active performance shock absorber at each corner. And they sound a little bit similar to the Blackhawk E-Squares on the TRX, but the Sky is a different, I don't know if it's different technology, it's different brain, it's a little bit different. So I'm going to try and get a Bilstein rep on the phone and get them in to talk about it here as soon as we're able to do that. I think it would be cool to walk through the difference between the shock technology on the SRT and on the TRX. So there's dual electronic proportional valves, which continually adjust damping forces, and you have independent, precise control of compression and rebound. So the combination of SRT suspension tuning and performance tires gives you a skid pad improvement of more than 20% when compared to the entry-level Rumblebee, and it's got 0.89 of lateral grip, which is really good. If it's 20% better than the base Rumblebee, it's got to be like 70% better than the standard Ram 1500. Braking on the Rumblebee 392 track pack and Rumblebee SRT, again, the 392 of the track pack is sort of the half step to Rumblebee SRT. So up front, the Ram SRT Rumblebee and the 392 of the track pack get bigger brakes. 16.1 by 1.65 inverted hat outboard venting rotors with 6-piston Brembos. And it sounds like from the development side, that's enough to give the truck a stoppie and lift the rear if if you only had front brakes, which is pretty rad. And then Rumblebee 392 track packs and Rumblebee SRTs also have the dedicated launch control button, just like a TRX, so for drag racing and things like that. And in the TRX, it's absolutely phenomenal. So moving to aero, the standard Ram 1500 gives you a coefficient of drag of 0.357, so that's about the same as many midsize SUVs, making the Ram a little bit more slippery. But the Rumblebee 392 track pack and SRT, they have a more aggressive design with the fascia that prioritizes stability, cooling, and then downforce, of course, over efficiency. So there's over 1,000 pounds of force impacting the front end of the truck at 170 miles an hour. So the Rumblebee 392 track pack and Rumblebee SRT have to manage that flow. And it's designed to cool all the critical running gear, so including engine, brakes, and trans. But it also generates 192 pounds of positive downforce, countering lift as the air moves under and around the truck at 170 miles an hour. There's a 4.5-inch SMC front splitter that divides the airflow, splits it between going under the truck and into the grill. And we have confirmed that there will be no shipping guards on them, so you won't have to see one of these Ram trucks with faded yellow guards protecting the splitter, which was a funny note from the press conference. So other aerodynamic aids that aren't as visible are also at play. So at 170 miles an hour, there's so much airflow through the front grille that has to be redirected after passing through the cooling stack. So one of these aero aids looks like a TRX skid plate, but it's actually designed to manage air and provide downforce. So beneath the engine, directly in the airflow path, is a front aero shield that links the splitter to the suspension cradle and fascia. And there's also a flow-through RAM logo on the grille. Of course, like I said before, the ducts integrate into the fascia, and they relieve frontal pressure, but also channel air directly to the brakes. And it reduces brake temperature by more than 30%, of course, depending on speed and load. And at the rear, the Rumblebee 392 track pack and Rumblebee SRT, of course, require rear downforce as well because there's no weight back there, and they need it for maintaining high-speed stability. So early computer simulations revealed that they need to go for a really aggressive design on the rear spoiler. So the spoiler was redesigned from its original 45 millimeter profile to 80 millimeters, and it has like a sweeping shape. And at speed, substantial force is applied to the top of the tailgate, which balances out the downforce generated up front by the splitter, and then the aero shield that helps maintain tire traction. And with a tri-fold hard tonneau cover over the bed, those things all add up to 426 pounds of rear downforce, which is pretty cool. And they also wanted to say, hey, listen, it's still a pickup truck, and we designed this thing for real-world duty. So the spoiler that sits on the back is designed to withstand tailgate operation and impacts. The spoiler is secured with what they call 8 mechanical attachment points, which I'm sure are screws, and is the entire width of the tailgate, and it's made from thermoplastic, polyolefin, TPO, chosen for its toughness, manufacturability, and long-term UV resistance. And moving back into exterior design, of course, I've said before, a bunch of times quad cab short box, but the overall length is 219.5 inches, and the wide body stance is 88 inches. So that gave the Ram designers the proportions that they were looking for. There's even a new Rumblebee badge, optional graphics package, matte hood, and the SRT version can be had in a diamond black two-tone top, similar to the high-end TRX. And yes, due to the width, it does have the marker lights on it. So the truck itself features LED lights, body-colored fenders and bumpers, has some bright colors like detonator yellow, molten red. It has other colors that have proven to be pretty popular lately, like ceramic gray. Then even the mirrors are unique to the Rumblebee. They've been downsized for this particular product, so they're not as big as those giant 1500 mirrors that are on the Ram. So wheels on the Rumblebee and Rumblebee 392 are 22 by 10 with a 285/45/22. A 20 by 10 with a 305/50/20 will be available after launch, and then the Rumblebee 392 track pack and Rumblebee SRT have all new, unique 22 by 12 inch wheels, and they're beautiful. It's a gorgeous wheel design. It's like a laced six-spoke. There's a lot going on, but it's a really pretty wheel. Anyway, they are designed to mount the 325. And moving to the interior, all of them get buckets with the GT console shifter, so no bench seat in the front. And on the entry-level Rumblebee, you get manually operated cloth buckets with medium graystone accent stitching to hold the driver in place. And going with the theme of all the things that you need performance-wise and nothing you don't, again, you get a flat-bottom performance steering wheel with aluminum paddle shifters and thumb rests carved into the leather rim. Again, the GT transfer case switch bank to the right of the steering wheel. You get the rear-wheel drive buttons. And they wanted to go for a heritage-inspired analog gauge cluster, but they didn't have a 170-mile-an-hour unit in the parts bin, so they have a full-color 12.3 digital display with a unique Rumblebee startup graphic, and of course it's configurable, just like the rest of the Rams. This, again, has the 8.4-inch Uconnect screen, which is more of the square one, and offers Apple CarPlay, Android Auto across the lineup. And then interior trim rings and surrounds are finished in black onyx chrome on the Rumblebee base model. So when you step up to the Rumblebee 392, adds a 10-way power cloth bucket for the driver and twill deco trim for the GT console shifter and other interior trim pieces. And you also get that fat-handed steering wheel, Prowler yellow accent stitching on the mid-level 392. And that extends into the door panels on the console. You get the 12.3 cluster, again, for the driver. And it's got unique Rumblebee 392 startup graphics. And then the Uconnect touchscreen goes from an 8.4 to a 12-inch, and it powers a 10-speaker Alpine audio system. Stepping up to the Rumblebee 392 track pack, elevates style, and then the premium content even more. Front occupants, driver and passenger get 12-way power adjustable leather and suede bucket seats with increased bolstering. Prowler yellow stitching found on the base 392 is now on the door panels. The shifter, trim pieces like metal door sill plates add a little extra luxury and flash. And rear seats also get matching Prowler yellow accents on the door panels and leather seating. Then you go to the interior of the Rumblebee SRT. Now you get desert orange stitching, and you think, well, why desert orange? Well, that's drawing connection to the supercharged engine's orange painted block. And again, you get leather, you get front and rear door panels that are nicer, you get the leather wrapped dashboard. So it starts feeling a little bit more like a TRX in that department. And the bucket seats are trimmed in ultra premium Natura Plus leather and suede. You get aggressive bolsters, 12 different power adjustments, and the suede covers the headliner, visors, cabin pillar, and then you also get carbon fiber deco trim that adds a little bit more of that sporty flair throughout the cabin. And you also get the carbon fiber deco panel on the passenger upper glove box and engraved relief for the Rumblebee badge. And then just like on the TRX, a genuine leather-wrapped horn pad with accent stitching adds a premium finish, so they say. Also includes unique metal pedals with rubber pads for foot control on the SRT version. And then just a couple other notes. You get a full-color heads-up display that's up to 10 inches and displays all sorts of different configurable information. And on the SRT, you go from that 12-inch screen in 392 to a 14.5-inch screen. And for those who like to record data, Performance Pages is available on the Rumblebee as well. So that gives you things like 0 to 60, G-force, gauges, engine performance. It can be downloaded to a USB thumb drive so you can share that driving data. And Ram's also going to have active driving assist on the Rumblebee 392. It'll be standard on the Rumblebee track pack and the SRT. There's a digital rear view mirror option, which I hate, so you can definitely turn it off and turn it back into a traditional style mirror. That's more my style. And then the Rumblebee has the 10-speaker Alpine on 392, but then you step up to the Harman Kardon 19-speaker system with a 10-inch subwoofer on the SRT. So this is the first time that Ram has put 19 speakers in the quad cab body. So it's 3.5-inch and 1-inch coaxials in the instrument panel, 2 3.5-inch and 1 coaxial in the front doors, 2 6x9s located in the front doors, 2 6x9s in the rear doors, 2 3.5-inch and 1-inch coaxial speakers located in the headliner, 1 10-inch enclosed subwoofer behind the rear seats on the passenger side, 1 12-channel boosted Class D amplifier, and 4 active noise-canceling microphones. All right, so let's go through a few spec numbers before we close this out. Rumblebee, again, 5.7. You get 392s, a 6,700-pound gross vehicle weight rating, 1,150 pounds of payload. Curb weight, 5,550 pounds. And you get a gross combined weight rating of 14,800, which gives you a maximum trailer weight of 8,890. Moving up to the 392, you stick with that 392 gear. Gross vehicle weight rating jumps to 7,050. Payload Goes up 10 pounds to 1,160. And the gross combined weight rating is 13,850, which gives you a 7,460 pound max trailer rating. And then the track pack, still a 392 gears. Gross vehicle weight rating goes up to 7,200 pounds, and it has the same 1,160 pound payload. And gross combined rating is the same 13,850, but max trailer weight drops to 7,300 pounds. Now, this is interesting when you look at the specs. The Rumblebee SRT, 355 gear ratio, 7,400 pound gross vehicle weight rating, so it's the heaviest gross vehicle weight rating, 1,140 pounds, which is 10 pounds less than the base Rumblebee. Gross combined weight rating, 15,200 pounds, which gives you a maximum trailer tow of 8,580 pounds, which is actually better than the 392. I mean, dang, that's pretty good. And with all that cooling, I don't think cooling is going to be an issue towing your trailer. So in case you're wondering, there is a 26-gallon fuel tank, and the Rumblebee will be produced in Saltillo, Mexico. And it'll be about 6 months or so before you start seeing Rumblebees. So you have a little bit of time to start saving your quarters. The base model should be available before the end of the year, and then the 392 and SRT are about 9 months to a year out. Pricing hasn't been announced yet, but there's still some Easter eggs to be revealed, so we promise to keep you informed of any updates as they break. All right, so what do you think of the new Ram Rumblebee lineup? Let me know by leaving a message on the 5-star hotline, 657-205-6105, or sending us an email, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show, oh, oh.
And don't forget to follow us on social at Truck Show Podcast, or my own personal page at Sean P. Holman. And of course, there's always the Facebook group, Podshed Insiders. I can't wait to see the comments in there. Listen, if I don't get 5-star hotline messages or truckshowpodcast@gmail.com emails, I hope you guys are in there talking about it so I can pull some comments for the next show, because I am truly, truly interested in what you guys think about this. We've been talking about it forever. Is it what you expected? Is it less than you thought? Is it more than you thought? Are you stoked that there's a whole lineup that'll be at different price levels? What do you think? I want to know. All right, time to thank our sponsors before we leave. So AMSOIL.com for those of you who love your vehicles and want performance synthetics for your performance ride. AMSOIL makes the best synthetics, oil change kits, and car care products. And of course, there's awesome knives at a great price. Go to Kershaw.kaiusa.com. Grab yourself one today. And lastly, the best in high-quality adventure, gear, lifestyles, and vehicle reviews are only found in the pages of OVR Magazine. Get free access to our digital library for a year, or a discount on print by heading to OVRmag.com and using the code @TruckShowPodcast. Thanks again for joining me on another rad episode of the Truck Show Podcast, and I can't wait to do it again real soon.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
How wide, how tall, is it big or is it small? Is it more or is it less? If I describe it, can you guess? Partly flat and partly round, blue and it makes a ring sound. Now I've described it, can you see what this thing is bound to be?